So there are two phenomenon, I'll call them, that happen not very often that I am willing to travel miles and miles, hours and hours to witness. And what they have in common, they take place in the air, and they provide this dance of grace and beauty and precision. And one of them is man-made, and it is the U.S. Navy's Blue Angels. And every so often they'll sort of come to town. I was coming home from a visit with a friend in Maine, northern Maine, coming through the Brunswick Naval Air Station on my motorcycle, actually, and whoosh, and I went, whoa, what was that? And I pulled over on the highway because I didn't want to miss a thing, and took off my helmet and leaned against the guardrail, and then just took this in, this show of these things are so fast and so powerful and so beautifully coordinated. They hold a tight formation. There's this, everything about it just draws me in, and it sort of moves me, sort of heart, mind, and soul. And there's a big picture there, and it draws me in, and at some level, I sort of feel I'm part of it, but even at some level would want to be more part of it, because it's this teamwork, it's coordinated, it's precision, it's beauty, it's grace, it's all of that. So I will go miles to watch one of those shows. I also am willing to go miles, and I saw a smaller version of this, but I know in England, in various places in England, there are much more phenomenal examples of murmurations among starlings in particular. So what I'm talking about, if you know the term murmuration, if you're not an ornithologist, but I'm sure you've seen them because they're just fascinating, and you find them out there on social media. But in the fall, around November, during the roosting time of these birds, they will gather together in thousands. They're small birds, but they'll cluster in a big cloud that is ever shape-shifting. And it's, even though it's made up of individual birds, if you look at it, it's this organism that's alive. And it moves, and as these birds all fly and twist and turn, and they hold together without colliding into one another. That in itself is remarkable, nor do they drift apart. They just hold like the Blue Angels, this tight formation, and it's all coordinated, and we don't know how, even ornithologists can't figure it out, but it is mesmerizing. And again, I could stand and would stand for as long as it lasted and watch that show and be taken in by the grace of it and the beauty of it and the coordination of it. And there's something deep within me, and if you've witnessed the same aerial shows, something that stirs in you. And maybe that's all it is, but when I reflect on it, it's this desire to be part of it. I want to be somehow part of it. I'm too old to become a fighter jet pilot. Or to sign up and even be on the support crew. And I'm certainly not a bird. So we are all at a loss for being part of this phenomenon, and yet there's a calling. Jesus is recruiting, and I didn't coin the phrase, but it's a murmuration of human beings is what Jesus could be well understood to be about. Now, note, please, that Jesus, as phenomenal as he is, and how often he is seen for what he can do in a way that says to most of us, oh my, I can only admire that. I can only stand below, sitting against the guardrail and look up and go, oh my, these guys are gods. There's no way I could ever in a lifetime, 10 lifetimes, learn how to do that and get in and have the courage, coordination, skill. So same thing. Jesus has this effect on people which he's trying to avoid. And the effect is, oh my, he's astounding. He does things so well that, oh my. They call it the messianic secret in the Gospel of Mark, that numerous times, and it happens twice in this gospel, you hear Jesus trying to avoid the limelight. And theologians, biblical scholars have had various theories on why this is part of Mark's gospel. But I'm here to tell you that it's this desire within him not to take over and have all the fun, but to invite you and to recruit you and me into a murmuration of human beings, knowing that the only lasting, positive, transformative changes that have ever happened in human history are not traced to one woman or one guy, hero or heroine, who comes rushing into the scene and saying, I've got it, this is what we're going to do, and it's done, and everyone else goes, woo, thank you, praise to you. No. The power of the murmuration of human beings is too easily overlooked, I should say. The woman, all right, so I'm going to try and hold this together with this gospel. The woman, all right, let me back up. What is Jesus doing? We didn't know what he was doing until he was 30, right? 30. But at 30, all the Gospels mark the beginning of his ministry, his public ministry, with his baptism. And however you want to understand that phenomena where the heavens split and this voice is spoken, this is my beloved with whom I am well pleased. As far as we know, he hasn't done anything prior to that. We haven't heard a thing about who Jesus is up to this moment. But from that moment on, he is on this world stage. He has gone public with his love. He knows from this experience of baptism that he, anywhere, anytime, wherever he is, he has immediate, direct access to infinite sources of love. So do you. So do I. But will we take that access, that really authority to pull on that, and will we bring it into the world? That takes courage. That takes risk. And Jesus is recruiting for that. And so this woman comes up, and her private love for her daughter, which every mother has for their child, is compelling her to do what doesn't come naturally, to come out and approach a member of the other tribes. Gentile, Syrophoenician, has nothing to do with Israelites and Jews, and yet out of this love that she can't hold on to any longer for her daughter, she's willing to come out shamelessly in public, bow down before this Jew and say, please, please help me. And it seems, this is a whole other sermon, that Jesus is like, no, you're not on my list. I'm recruiting, and I don't have time for you right now. And she says, no, I'm not taking that for an answer. Is not grace the grace of God for everybody? Who am I? Why can't I receive from you, even a crumb of grace? Because that would do the trick for me and my daughter. And he is so impressed that he said, woman, you got the right stuff. You're going to be flying. You're part of this this murmuration of human beings. She says, go. Your daughter is made. She has such chutzpah, such no fear to act on love in this public world in which we share our lives. Likewise, this is how I'm trying to frame these buddies. Hey, we have an opportunity. Here's the guy. Here's the pilot, the demigod who can heal our friend. And so they bring him and say, please, please, please. He can't hear nor can he speak. And that might have been actually a physical ailment. This guy might well have been deaf and unable to literally speak a word. But I'm going to take the next layer and think about you and me and all the people in our lives who, yes, have lots of love to give, but they're unwilling to hear the call to give it, nor will they speak up and say, hey, that's not right. I have deep compassion in my heart, and this situation in front of me is not right, and I'm going to speak up and address it. This man somehow was handicapped in not being able to take the love he has access to and bring it into the world. He was mute and he was deaf, and his friends say, couldn't you heal him? And again, Jesus takes him in private, like, oh gosh, I'm going to do this, and they're going to think, oh, he's the demigod pilot, and whoa, Jesus, can you, and he's trying to avoid that because he doesn't, as I say, want to take the joy away from you and away from me to fly in precision, in coordinated activity. Sometimes it's the hero that gets all the news, and unhappy is the land who needs heroes, because unhappy are the people who aren't sharing in the work, the public ministry of taking the love we have been given in infinite amounts and having the audacity and the courage to channel, to shed, to take that into the world. Jesus, we don't know, as I say, a thing about him before he's 30, before he goes public and has a little audacity, thanks to this blessing from God, to begin to take everything he is and everything he has and direct it outward. And when you do that, when I do that, when you don't have to worry about yourself, when your back is covered, when you know that you are the blessed child of God, it's like, ooh, all right, now I can take everything I have and focus it outward, take my love and move into the world, and then miracles happen. So now we know the story of Jesus. Nothing before the baptism, but everything after the baptism. He does all these amazing things. But don't be misled that he does it and does it so well that he doesn't need our help. Not for a moment is he trying to steal the purpose, the meaning, the joy, of what it feels like to be one of those birds, whether it's a blue angel or a starling. That's what we're invited to be part of. Afghan refugees are flooding into our country. Yay, they deserve all the care and compassion we can possibly muster, and it might require going a little public, joining the murmuration of other human beings in a coordinated fashion to do all that we can, meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting, which has no sex appeal. You don't see meetings, in those hero movies. They're pretty boring. But without those meetings, we're not flying together as a murmuration. Without those meetings where we sit and think and ponder, and what are our resources, and hey, can you do this, and can you do that? And so these 5 Afghan families, that's the goal, to bring 5 Afghan families to Ipswich. And here's an opportunity for ministry to happen, and for us not to sit back and say, well, the experts, I don't know first thing about immigration. No. The invitation is there, and it's called public love. When you take your love that up to this point, you might shower here and a little shower there, and you decide to step into and onto the world stage and into the public sphere, you experience public love. And there's something within each of us that's so ravenous, they say, of this appetite for public love. We know the taste of it. When you've been part of something, we take mission trips to Navajo land. We've gone to Cuba. Anytime I'm with 12 other people 24/7, I'm flying in this little murmuration with these people, and we're all there to make a difference, to bring love out there and into the public. Thankfully, we're well received. But even if we weren't, even if we were criticized, which we might be if perhaps we take an Afghan family, I don't know why we would, but there's always that risk, right? In the 50s and the 60s, when my predecessor, Goldie Sherrill, brought blacks into our town, happened years ago, I'm sure there were people like, ooh, what's going on here? You sure? We have an opportunity. It's coming, and I'm curious, and myself. And I have to say that I tend to be the Christian who wants to go deep and a little less going broad. But I went deep to know that love is real, and I know it to be real. And maybe in my latter years, I will have more opportunity to get the bucket out of the well and move into the world broadly and say, this love is real, and I'm here to share it with you in whatever way I can. And with that flying among my fellow murmuration of fellow human beings, the joy and the meaning and the purpose, and you're alive, you're flying, and it's great. And that's what we're called to.